Canadian marriages may not be so safe after all, with the author of the country's marriage equality law raising the possibility of an anti-gay attack. Here in the U.S., nearly 100 mayors come out for marriage equality, including one who testified during the Prop 8 trial. We're just one vote away from passing marriage equality in the Washington State Senate, but time is quickly running out. And remember that cute Australian ad with the first-person courtship? I'll talk to the American college student who's raising funds to bring that ad to the States. I'm Matt Baum at the American Foundation for Equal Rights, and welcome to Marriage Newswatch for January 23, 2012. We're still on the edge of our seats for a Prop 8 ruling. It could come at any moment. You can be the first to find out when it comes. Visit AFER.org to sign up for a breaking news alert. You can either get it via email or text alert. Meanwhile, more cast members have been announced for the LA premiere of 8, Dustin Lance Black's play based on the transcripts of the Prop 8 trial. Joining the March 3rd reading are George Clooney, Martin Sheen, Jane Lynch, Matthew Morrison, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Christine Lottie, George Takei, and Book of Mormon's Rory O'Malley. Marriage equality got a huge nationwide boost this week from 80 U.S. mayors. The group includes Seattle, Denver, Austin, St. Louis, Bloomington, Newark, and a whole host of cities in states that have marriage or civil union legislation in the works. One of the leaders of the group is Jerry Sanders, the Republican mayor of San Diego, whose testimony at the Prop 8 trial was instrumental. On day 6 of the trial, Sanders said, "If government tolerates discrimination against anyone, for any reason, it becomes an excuse for the public to do exactly the same thing." Anti-gay groups in New Hampshire have been struggling even more than usual lately. A small group of politicians is working to undo the state's marriage equality law, but their colleagues have repeatedly delayed action on the proposal. A tentatively scheduled vote this week has been pushed at the last minute to February. It wasn't long ago that marriage for LGBTs was a wedge issue that anti-gay politicians could use to their advantage. But these days, only 27% of New Hampshire adults support repeal of the state's marriage law, so the wedge has clearly flipped. Meanwhile, in North Carolina, an anti-gay constitutional amendment has dipped slightly in the polls, but retains majority support. Even though momentum is slowly building to block the law, it may not be enough in time for the vote in May. It's important to note just how extreme and draconian this measure is. It wouldn't just ban marriage. North Carolina already does that. This law would ban all protections for LGBT families, and even for unmarried straight couples. In Ohio, a similar measure allowed multiple domestic abusers to go free simply because they weren't married to their victims. One North Carolina group is fighting back with 2 new ads this week featuring a collection of talking heads. Ads like these were once commonplace, but have fallen out of favor as we found that emotional appeals are more effective than appeals to logic. That's why the internet has responded so strongly to It's Time, the ad from Australia featuring a first-person courtship of what turns out to be a gay couple. You've probably seen the ad already on Facebook, but soon you may see it on television. This week I spoke to Daniel Wine, a Washington, D.C. college student who's managed to acquire the rights and raise thousands of dollars for a stateside airing of It's Time. Stay tuned for our full conversation later this week. For now, here are some highlights from our interview. I asked Daniel why he was motivated to get this ad on television and how he's making that happen.
I was back home for Thanksgiving break when I was just sitting on my couch and I came across this It's Time ad from Get Up Australia, and I was really just deeply moved. And I started to get a team together to see what we can do about getting this on TV. Luckily, I was able to actually had 2 people reach out to me who are digital strategists, one based in DC and one based in New York, who are both taking on this project pro bono. And then soon after that, we were able to locate a lawyer who has background in kind of this same nonprofit work, who's able to consult with us. There's a think tank in DC called Third Way that conducted some very preliminary study, and they found that this ad tested very well in the United States. And given the opportunity to play to a much larger audience in the United States beyond just YouTube, I think that it could definitely make a big impact.
New Jersey will hear testimony on Tuesday of this week concerning a proposed marriage equality bill. Governor Chris Christie has so far avoided making a firm commitment on signing or vetoing the bill, and some legislators claim that they can reach a veto-proof majority. That may be wishful thinking, but public support for the bill continues to rise. A survey this week shows that 52% support the bill, with only 42% opposed. We're agonizing over every vote in Washington state, where legislators are just 1 vote shy from passing a marriage equality bill. The bill enjoys bipartisan support, including Republican Attorney General candidate Reagan Dunn. And this week, some of the state's largest employers, including Microsoft and Nike, signed a letter of support. But 5 senators still have not stated their position. In order to reach the governor this session, the bill will need to pass either the House or the Senate before February 14th. Internationally, there's good news from Cuba, where officials have pledged to consider enacting civil unions. But turmoil has continued in Canada. Last week, a government lawyer argued that Americans who travel to Canada to marry aren't legally married. That was quickly followed by a clarification from the government that tourist marriages are in fact legal in that country, even if they aren't recognized in the tourist's home country. Some politicians have promised to amend the law to clarify those couples' legal standing. But this week, one of the lawyers who worked on the original law, Kathleen LaHaye, pointed out that the law doesn't really need any amendment. It's already perfectly clear. This has sparked fears that the so-called clarifications could actually be a sneaky attempt to weaken the law and create exemptions that could deny equal protections to some LGBTs. We'll be following that situation closely as it develops. Those are the headlines. Head on over to AFER.org for more on the federal fight to overturn Proposition 8 and win full nationwide marriage equality, and visit MarriageNewsWatch.com for breaking news headlines throughout the day. I'm Matt Baum at the American Foundation for Equal Rights. We'll see you next week.